I know you know, I don't have to tell you, like the interview process is kind of a gnarly one. I think it's kind of
Yeah.
evolved over the decades. Like there was back, 20, 30 years ago, there was the like, what would you say your biggest weakness is, right? Like that was the your typical job interview.
Right.
Well, I'm too much of a perfectionist. Like I keep trying to do
Of
everything.
course. Yeah.
And then I think Microsoft kind of changed that, right? And so Microsoft, I think, I'm probably wrong, but I think was one of the first, at least, to kind of do the, oh, well, you want to code, like here's a whiteboard, go reverse link list, or go do a binary search, or go write some code, basically, and or like brain riddles. They pioneered sort of that kind of interview, and in my first run, kind of up until Plex, that was the kind of interview that I was used to delivering when hiring people.
Hmm.
And it didn't work that great, that
No,
well.
it doesn't. I found that when you're hiring someone, it's really good to center the questions in the interview around the functions that they would be executing and their capability to do so. Their capability to perform the job, as well as who they are, as like how they make decisions as people. And yeah, I always thought it was strange when I would see the movies and they would ask those strange questions about what are your biggest weaknesses, you know.
The great one is, like, I've heard some crazy ones over the years, like estimate how many gumballs are in this thing, because they essentially want to
Mhm.
see how you work through problems and stuff. But I mean, to your point, like, yeah, you want to see how people are going to execute the responsibilities that you're going to give to them. And in my opinion, there's no better way to do that than to actually watch them execute some things. And for us, it was like it ended up being great too, because I mean, there were some people that were like passionate about Plex, wanted to work 10 hours a week for Plex, and but didn't necessarily want to make the leap from a full-time job. We're slightly nervous about this whole remote company concept, all that kind of stuff. So we'd tell people like, well, we kind of like to start off 10 hours a week, 15 hours a week. And they'd be like, oh, wow, awesome, great. Okay, so when's the interview? And I'm like, well, this was the interview. So when do you want to start? And generally what we looked for and what we ended up kind of codifying later in our, sort of like book of Plex, is that the people we were looking for were first and foremost kind and thoughtful people and humble people. And so, you notice I didn't say smart geniuses anywhere there. Being humble and being kind were, especially in a remote environment, especially when people aren't communicating face to face, like those were the prime things that we looked for. And yes, of course, you had to be smart and be able to execute your job well. But first and foremost, we were looking for just good people with a capital G.